Hello, we're live. I'm Louis Yanis, coming in talking to you from my back porch. It's an absolutely gorgeous day. Let me just show you this. Look at this. It's just beautiful out. Just sun shining. Gorgeous day. So, I was thinking about what to talk about today, and the first thing that came to my mind was a title, Let's Get Together and Feel All Right, Bob Marley. I'm not a huge Bob Marley fan, but I was just thinking about how it's time for people to get together, have barbecues, and enjoy each other. It's time to get together and feel all right for sure. And I've actually been doing some projects around the house. I call it Team Giannis Resort. And my idea was I love spending time in Palm Springs or Palm Desert area. And I thought, well, what's different about being there versus being here? And I said, well, not a whole lot. In Colorado right now, it's just absolutely gorgeous. So what can we do around our house to make it more like we're in Palm Springs? So we've just been doing little projects here and there to do that. And today I thought I'd go live because it's been a while since I've gone live, mainly because we are building, we've been doing a ton of packaging and stuff for business. And we're getting ready to do a official podcast where we're going to have guests and we're really building this thing up. So that has led me to not have the time really because we're trying to get other things done. So we're kind of like stuffing the cannon, and we're about ready to light the torch on it. And I'm excited about that. But in the meantime, I thought I'm getting ready to go on stockcharts.com. They do a live interview there tomorrow, and was preparing for it. Because it's just a quick 5-minute interview. You should go check it out if you can. If you're on our list, you would have gotten an email about it. Hi, how you doing, Marcella? Good to see you. It's absolutely awesome today in Denver, isn't it? I mean, come on, doesn't get much better than this. So anyhow, so I was just preparing for this. And I was going through, it's very interesting. There's times when everything is like really easy. And then there's times when things are a little more difficult. And it's been really, really tough for a lot of people, this whole pandemic and everything else. And but for people who are investors, it's been fairly easy. And I hate to say that, but the markets have been fairly easy to work with lately. But usually what happens after a period of time when it's been really easy, it gets a little bit more difficult, a little bit more choppy. So one of the things I'll be talking about on this interview is how we're entering in a period, in my opinion, where we're still in a bull market and things look good for the economy, but it's going to be a little bit more choppy. And one of the ways we know that is Bitcoin had a big drop recently, and that's just kind of a sign of the psychology of what's going on. So what's really interesting is that you can do very well in an environment like this. So I'm actually excited about that kind of an environment. And one of the things that we have noticed is that it's been so easy to spot companies that have gone down in value that are ready to go back up. So we've seen kind of this movement up and down. So now's the time where, we're starting to pick things up when they're down and then letting go of things that have done well. I mean, we've had things go up 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% in the last year, and letting some of those go because they're not as attractive and buying those that are still attractive, but have not gone up. And yeah, I mean, it's a great time to be an investor for sure. And anyhow, so I was thinking about Bob Marley. I mean, come on. My first concert that I ever went to here in Colorado was here in Colorado at Red Rocks, by the way. I've been to a lot of concerts before that, but here was the B-52s. I mean, come on, the B-52s and Ziggy Marley. And it was, let's just say there was a lot of funny scent in the air that night. But it was one of those nights where, and if you've been to Red Rocks, when it's absolutely pristine and beautiful like today, and you can see the moon, a full moon. I mean, it was a full moon, and you could see the entire city. It was like one of those nights that you will never forget. So if you haven't been to Colorado to go to a concert in Red Rocks, put it on your bucket list. It's an absolute must do. So, what was your first concert you ever went to? So, if you're watching this, tell me what your first concert is. So, I want to talk a little bit about getting together. So, things are coming back open. Things are becoming more and more normal. Now the big discussion is, should your kids have vaccines? Well, guess what? Kids are coming home now. They're done for the year. So everybody seems to be just really ramping it up. And I'm really excited about that. It's time. The biggest challenge, I think, for a lot of people is trying to shed off the weight that you gained during the pandemic. Maybe, I've met some people that had gained no weight. Well, that I have to tell you, I gained some significant weight, and I'm trying to get it off. It's been really difficult getting it off because not moving around, couldn't go to the gym, or I'll make up all sorts of excuses. First concert was Journey. Oh, I love Journey. Neil Sean is the guitar player from Journey. He's a killer guitar player, plays Les Paul. I saw him at Guitarmageddon in Dallas, and he blew everybody away. He played the Star Spangled Banner like nobody's business. He was the opening act on day 2, and this was Eric Clapton's concert, big concert he did. And he only did a couple of these, and it was early in the morning. He cranked up there must have been at least 8 Marshall stacks that he cranked up, and they blasted it. And he had so much sustain in his guitar, it just absolutely blew you away. And in fact, you've heard people play Star Spangled Banner before, but I promise you, none of them came even close to how Neil Sean did it from Journey. He just nailed it. In fact, if you don't know, you could go on YouTube and type in Neil Sean and listen to him play by himself. Like, you wouldn't say, yeah, he's a pretty good guitar player if you hear his songs that he's played on. But if you hear him just go after it on his own, you realize this guy is at another level, for sure, another level. So just kind of looking at some of the things that's been on my list today. And one of the biggest things that's been going on in our world, in the whole, money management world, if you will, has been just keeping people understanding what's happening. Because I think there's a lot of concern right now about what's happening in Israel, what's happening in the world, things like that. And I think what's interesting about this is that the economy literally has not been affected that much by it, but people's lives have been affected by this. We're seeing a lot of change happening. You look at what's happening in New York with the uprising, and how people are, kind of the dark side of people can come out sometimes. And that's a real danger. So that's the biggest thing that I'm kind of worried about right now, is that we have some kind of a shift towards that side of things, which we tend to ebb and flow throughout history. So hopefully that's not the case, and we have to stay positive that won't be the case. But I'm actually very optimistic right now that things are getting better right now for many people. Many people are getting back to work. Companies are going to start hiring again, or they're trying to hire. I'll give you an example. We have some landscapers that were supposed to come out, and we got them contracted like 5 weeks ago. They were supposed to be out last week. They couldn't come because they were late, and then the weather got bad. Then they were supposed to come out this week, and guess what happened? I get a phone call that a bunch of people just flat out just said, I don't want to work. They just quit on this firm. And he's got these other crews that are out, but they're all on other jobs. And this is one of the things that's happening right now, is there's labor shortages, because there still are a significant amount of people that are not working because they have aid and things like that. And that's keeping them from going to work. And the other thing that's happening is, because there's shortages, people are asking for more money and more wages, and people are leaving their jobs that they have now to go get more money. And this is what happened to my contractor. My contractor, by the way, very, very nice guy, very honest and upfront with me. He said, I can't believe this is happening right now, and I really feel bad because, we've been waiting quite a while. But I don't know if you've experienced that before. I think that's happening a lot right now, where there's just shortages. We have stuff that you want to have help with around the house, or even just in any capacity. There's a lot of people that need to go back to work, but there's also seems to be people that are just kind of holding back from going to work. So talking about the markets right now, one of the things I've noticed is that the US dollar has been going down quite a bit. And it continues to be one of those things that people talk about, get concerned about, and gold started moving higher again. Gold had been kind of waning a little bit. We're seeing gold come back to life, and people are getting more interested in the hard assets. We're seeing real estate move back up. I'll tell you, I'm a tenant at a building here in the Lone Tree area, and they had a huge vacancy during this pandemic. And I was back in again. They're still requiring masks, and you know what? They're filling back up again. They're filling back up, and real estate stocks have not reflected the fact that we're opening up fully. So there's good opportunity in that as an investor. So yes, I know several people who are collecting unemployment rather than going to work. The system needs to change. I fully agree with that. It's one of those things where it ebbs and it flows. And if history is like the way it normally goes, we'll probably see it maybe get a little worse before it gets better. But ultimately, people will get back to work unless we completely change our ideology towards a more command and control system, which I think there's a part of the U.S. population that wants that. But I still believe that the majority of people don't want that. I was just talking to a friend of mine who I know that who lived here, and then he moved to Florida. And he's originally from New York. And he was telling me that Florida is just absolutely booming as people are leaving the states that are increasing the taxes. They're leaving the states where people are feeling like they can't be close to the street there because there's so much unrest. They're moving to Florida. They're moving to Texas. I was talking to my sister who's in Texas. I cannot believe the value changes in the homes there. So a lot of people are just saying, you know what, maybe the culture is a little bit better over there for me. Well, we love Colorado. So, but I could see the allure. I mean, you think about guys like Ben Shapiro, who is one of the Daily Wire. I guess he's a founder of Daily Wire, which, by the way, if you're not a member of Daily Wire, you might check it out. It's pretty good stuff. Anyhow, he's got a place in Florida. He's got his family down in Florida. He moved his operations out of California into Memphis, right? I'm sorry, Nashville. And and he flies back and forth. So I think his family's on the East Coast and of Florida. So anyhow, so you're seeing that a lot of people just changing their location literally because of some of the changes out here. But I'm still optimistic about what's happening right now. I noticed Bitcoin had a big sell-off. A lot of people getting very bullish on Bitcoin, and it had a sell-off. Very predictably had one. And I think that's a little bit of a sign that we're getting a little bit too frothy, and people are getting less ahead of themselves, if you will. And we're seeing a pickup in some of the companies that have stronger earnings and better balance sheets, and which is good for us. So that's been one of the things that's been going on. The kids, by the way, if you have kids, you may have noticed that they're having probably the hardest time with this pandemic thing, but now they're getting their freedom again. And my daughter has been to lacrosse games. I mean, I don't know if are you guys feeling like things are open up? If you're watching this, type in and tell me if you think that things are opening up for you personally. And if so, like, what do you think about that? You think it'll continue? I mean, I think a lot of people, as they get vaccinated, I think pretty much most people that I know are vaccinated. Now, I know the numbers show that last time I looked at it, it was something like 150 million-ish people were fully vaccinated. So I mean, it's getting there. And you hear some people say, I don't want to get vaccinated and all that. In fact, my handyman who came in didn't want to get vaccinated, so he didn't get vaccinated. I didn't kick him out. But it's one of those things that happens. So preparing for major crowds everywhere. Yeah, exactly. I wonder what that means for most people. Are you feeling comfortable? I mean, I know that, a lot of the places of worship and all of that are starting to open up more. They're seeing bigger numbers. They're still not anywhere near full. But it is getting better out there. So what else has been on my plate here? Interest rates have been, I guess, not really cooperating. They've been somewhat moving higher, but not excessively. So that's been good. I've seen, certain currencies are starting to break out and go move higher, like the Australian dollar and British pound. And then we've seen things have been kind of pulling back on the kind of the copper and the industrial metals and things like that. But the precious metals have been moving higher. And in the equity world, it has been more of a chop, and people have seen a little bit of a stagnation in the last couple months or so. Lumber prices, which have been like absolutely outrageous. So we looked at putting on our deck. This is a wood deck, by the way. We looked at putting Trex over here, and I kid you not, the contractors told us that the price of lumber was almost the same as the price of Trex. So if we put a Trex deck on, it would be almost the same price as putting a lumber deck. Well, obviously, you'd want to have Trex. Well, for me, you'd want to have Trex or something like that here in Colorado because it's so dry and the sun beats it down so hard. But yeah, I thought that was absolutely outrageous. The prices are just crazy. What's going on? But anyhow, so look for more stuff to come. Anna Lamb, who's a new employee with our company, has been involved in moving things along for some projects that we're doing. And so she's working on getting all the branding and everything done for our podcast. What we're going to do is we're going to go live with people, with interviewers. I'm going to be interviewing people. And then that's also going to be streamed through YouTube, Facebook, and then it will also be recorded and made into a podcast, which will be available on any of the podcasting places. And then it will also be on our website. There's a bunch of changes happening on our website as well. Let's see. We have a comment here from Lawrence Jackson. Yes, things are opening up in Maryland. That's good to hear, Lawrence. I'm glad to hear that because that's what we want to see. I don't know what things are like in Maryland these days. I don't have any clients in Maryland, near that area, but not in Maryland. So yeah, those prices are crazy, Marcella. Absolutely nuts. But yeah, one of the things I've noticed is one of the people I'm going to have, yes, I will. And I'll talk about technical analysis for you, Lawrence, in just a second. One of the things I've noticed is that there is in the housing area, I was talking to a real estate friend of mine, who's very in tune with what's happening in the market. And we're seeing a lot of people in the real estate area going, hey, listen, I don't want to sell. I don't want to buy. They're just frozen, which makes no sense. People that can afford a house, even who should, we did financial plans for them, say you should buy a house and you're ready to do that. And they still aren't doing that because they're frozen. I actually don't think that's a good idea. I think people think that's a top, a bubble. I don't think it's a top yet. So you want to talk a little bit about technical analysis, Lawrence? Yes, we could definitely do that. In fact, one of the things I can do is I could probably pull up a few charts, and I'll talk a little bit about technical analysis in terms of today's environment. So why don't we do that? I could actually share my screen. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to move into a charting package. Let me see entire screen. I'm going to do a window, and I'm going to do this. Joe, how you doing, Joe? What's happening? Hey, Joe, we're going to talk a little bit about technical analysis because Lawrence said he wanted to hear a little bit more about this. So let me explain what technical analysis is if you are not familiar with what it is. Technical analysis is the study of the supply and demand of securities. Anything that's freely traded, as long as it's not overly regulated and it's freely traded, you can use concepts of technical analysis to help understand the probable future direction of an asset. It could be a stock, a bond, real estate, it could be anything, as long as it's freely traded. And one of the things that there's a lot of different concepts, but what I want to talk about today, just to kind of make it kind of relevant for today, and keep asking the questions if you have them as I'm going along, and I'll try to answer them. So one of the things that we look at in technical analysis is what's called support and resistance. Support is an area of price where market participants are stepping in and they're buying. And you know that because you see the amount of trading increase at a certain level, and then you see the prices move higher. And normally a support level will hit the same level multiple times and then move higher from there. And I'll give you an example of what a support level is. This right here, I'm going to draw a little line here. This is a chart of a company, ASO. And if you can see here, there's a bunch of times the market comes, this particular stock comes down to this level just under $30, just under $30, right? And then it starts moving higher from that level, kind of bounces up. That's a support level. That's because institutional buyers or even retail buyers are picking up that stock at that low. And resistance is the opposite, is when market participants start selling at a certain level and then they drop the price down. So you see that happening between $32 and $37 a share for this particular company. And one of the things that we look for when we're looking about when to get into investment, not necessarily what to get into, but when to get in, is when we see an area of equilibrium, like we see right here, where buyers and sellers are relatively even and it's moving back and forth between support, where people are buying it, and resistance, but it's kind of in a narrow band. That's also known as the volatility contraction pattern. When that happens, and then all of a sudden you have high volume and it breaks out like this here, you see this volume, bunch of trading happens, and then we break out this level. That's usually a sign that the stock is now starting to move in your favor. So just to give you, if you're trying to buy the stock, obviously. I'll give you an example. There's a company called Roblox. You may have heard of the Roblox. So we took a position in Roblox day before yesterday as it broke out through this pattern here, and then it had high follow through, and it had a very strong move up from 78 down up to 89. So that's one of the timing tools that you can use in an environment like today. And I'm going to be talking about this on stockcharts.com. It's more of a mean reverting environment, which means that stocks can move up and stocks can move down, and you want to pick them up when they're down a little bit. Sometimes you're in a follow through market when you can't buy them as they're coming down because they just keep marching forward, or they keep marching down. But since we've already had a big run up and volatility spiked and started to come down, that's usually a sign that you're going to start seeing some more of a mean reversion market. So let's see. I enjoyed your Real Vision. Let's see here. This is Lawrence. I enjoyed your Real Vision interviews using interviews and explaining technical analysis. Thank you for that. If you haven't been on Real Vision, you should check it out. It's a research platform that people can subscribe to, and you can get ideas about investing and trading. And I usually go on there. I told them that I only want to go on like once a quarter or so because it's a little bit time consuming. But there's times when I'll go on more often. But basically, I'll talk about specific investment ideas there for people to get a hold of, to hopefully make some money from. And or get educated on trading. So Lawrence, I'm glad. I hope there was a little bit of value there with that little technical analysis lesson. We could go on for a long time on technical analysis. I could just give you another example real quick, and then I'll probably need to stop the technical analysis thing for now. Today, this company here, Nexstar. This is a broadcasting company, and Fox is related to this. Here is another volatility contraction pattern that is a little bit different. And volatility contraction pattern just means that a stock starts to get narrow and narrow in its price range. The reason why that's important is because that's showing, especially after a big rise, like this stock here, you could see how it rose a lot, and now it's getting tighter and tighter, narrow and narrow. The reason why that's important is because that's showing that people that were sellers are starting to work off, but buyers are still there supporting the stock. And once all the sellers are gone, the next move is usually in the direction of the prior trend, which is up in this case. So today we had a contraction pattern here, and we had a strong move up in price, but we didn't see a lot of volume on it. So we'll have to see how well that one follows through. But that was we already like the fundamentals of this particular stock, so that particular price action was good for adding on to this particular trade. So there's a little bit of a technical analysis for you. And Joe, by the way, Joe Williams, he's involved with Joe. If you're still there, I don't know if you are. He's involved with Jeffrey Gitomer, who is a best-selling author. In fact, he's worked with me on my book, and anyway, he's involved with a group with Jeffrey Gitterman. That's how I met him, but he's a local person here in Colorado. And they have a group that they've been meeting, I believe, once a month. And I've been to one meeting, so that's how we met. It's nice to meet Joe. I'm sure I'll see him a little bit later. But I think that's all for now, you guys. I've been on for 25 minutes. And it's good to see you. And if you guys have any questions, just let us know. Reach out and touch us and let us know what's happening. Hope you guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.